Testing. Hello? Well, the May 27, 2025 Special Representative Town Meeting is called to order. You can't hear me? Well, we're waiting for the PA to start working. Something ain't right. There we go. Can you hear me now? There's an echo from up here. Is there a mic over here that we can turn down? Thank you. Okay. The May 27, 2025 Special Representative Town Meeting is called to order. I'll ask whether the meeting has been properly warned. All right. The meeting has been properly warned. I'd like please to remind all members to check in with the attendants. Only authorized people may sit in the meeting area. Members should have name tags with lanyards. Please make sure to return your badges to the check-in table after the meeting adjourns. At last count, we had 120 members. 77 members is a quorum, so we're ready to proceed with tonight's business. Restrooms are located out the back door. Exits are where you came in, and in the front here and on the sides. I would ask now for the opening and closing paragraphs of the warning to be read.
The legal voters qualified to vote in representative town meeting are hereby notified and warned to meet in the gymnasium of the Brattleboro Union High School on Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. to act on the articles listed below. Dated at Brattleboro, Vermont, this 24th day of April, 2025, Brattleboro Select Board, Elizabeth McLaughlin, Chair, Oscar Heller, Vice Chair, Isaac Evans France, Clerk, Amanda Ellis Thurber, Peter Case.
Thank you. The procedure for tonight's meeting is set by Robert's Rules of Order, and we'll be following those rules with the goal of having an orderly and comprehensive discussion with a fair opportunity for discussion on the article that's presented. To be recognized, please raise your hand and wait to be called on. Please use one of the two mics so that people here and people at home can hear you speak. When you have questions, please direct them to the moderator, and it'll be the moderator's role to direct the inquiry to the appropriate person. Comments are going to be limited to 2 minutes at a time, with exceptions to be determined at the moderator's discretion. Comments have to be germane to the motion on the floor, and members will not be recognized to speak for a second time when others are seeking to but have not yet spoken. I'm not going to go over the rules of etiquette. We've had 3 representative town meetings here now in 6 months. Regardless of the nature of the issues, the town government and the town is stronger, given everybody's sustained and dedicated participation. So I want to thank everybody for participating in the town meetings that we've had. The Roberts Rules call for amendments and motions to be made in writing and provided to the moderator so that we have accurate record keeping and consideration of those actions. I'm aware of a number of amendments that may be made or requested, and we ask for those to please be in writing. If you disagree with a ruling that's made by the moderator, there's a procedure for appeal. You can challenge a ruling by the moderator by asking to be recognized and stating that you appeal the moderator's ruling. Please don't move your chairs. Having the chairs lined up allows the counters to be accurate if there's a division vote that's called. The meeting is being live streamed and recorded by Brattleboro Community Television and can be viewed in real time on Comcast Channel 1079, at the website brattleboro.tv, or the YouTube page, Brattleboro Community TV. After the meeting, an archive of the live stream will be available on the website. Final version will air in the weeks following the meeting as well. The meeting is being interpreted for the deaf and hard of hearing by Elizabeth Fox and Michelle Whitaker. Moderator recognizes Oscar Heller for preliminary motion number 1.
Thank you. I move that the following persons be authorized to remain in the meeting with the Select Board and Town Meeting members: Town Manager John Potter and Town Attorney Robert Fisher.
Is there a second? Mr. Carville, Representative Carville seconds. It's been moved and seconded that the following persons be authorized to remain in the meeting with the Select Board and the Town Meeting members: Town Manager John Potter, Town Attorney Robert Fisher. Are you ready for that question? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please rise and say aye. Aye. You can be seated. All those opposed, please rise and say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you've adopted preliminary motion number 1. As to preliminary motion number 2, the moderator recognizes Peter Case.
I move the electronic media and the ASL interpreters be permitted to remain in the meeting.
Is there a second? Representative Delesny seconds. It's been moved and seconded that the electronic media and ASL interpreters be permitted to remain in the meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for that question? All those in favor, please rise and say aye. Aye. You can be seated. All those opposed, please rise and say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you've adopted preliminary motion number 2. For article number 1, nobody's designated from Select Board, so the moderator recognizes Select Board member McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the Select Board be authorized to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum not to exceed $24,971,305 in order to defray, to that extent, all general fund expenses for the period of July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, including all highway and Windham County taxes, and that the Select Board be authorized to expend, in addition to any sum authorized for special purpose under any article previously authorized at the March 22nd, 2025 Annual Representative Town Meeting. This motion includes $19,620,094 to be collected in property taxes, and the balance to be comprised of all other sources of revenue collected by the town. This motion also provides that the town and school district taxes assessed on the grand list as of April 1st, 2025 shall be due and payable in 4 equal installments payable to the town treasurer until overdue, then to the collector of taxes, that such payments of the installments shall be received by the town treasurer's office on or before 5 p.m. on August 15th, 2025, November 17th, 2025, February 17th, 2026, and May 15, 2026, and that the interest rate of 1% per month shall be charged from the due date of payment on any overdue payment of the town tax, installment, or portion thereof, and that a penalty of 8% shall be charged on any overdue payment that remains due and owing on May 16th, 2026. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to speak to this article.
Is there a second? Mr. Cook seconds. It's been moved and seconded
Great.
that the Select Board be authorized to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum not to exceed $24,971,305 in order to defray to that extent all general fund expenses for the period of July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026, including all highway and Windham County taxes, and that the Select Board be authorized to expend in addition any sum authorized for special purpose under any article previously authorized at the March 22, 2025 Annual Representative Town Meeting. This motion includes $19,620,094 to be collected in property taxes, and the balance to be comprised of all other sources of revenue collected by the town. This motion also provides that the town and school district taxes assessed on the grand list as of April 1, 2025 shall be due and payable in 4 equal installments payable to the town treasurer until overdue, then to the collector of taxes, that such payment of the installment shall be received by the town treasurer's office on or before 5 p.m. on August 15 and November 17, 2025, February 17 and May 15, 2026, and that interest at a rate of 1% per month be charged from the due date of payment on any overdue payment of the town tax installment or portion thereof, and that a penalty of 8% be charged on any overdue payment that remains due and owing on May 16, 2026. Moderator recognizes Select Person McLaughlin.
Thank you. As required by Brattleboro's March RTM, the Select Board has brought a May 1, 2025 FY26 budget for your consideration. We conducted a series of meetings in the month of April. These meetings offered ample opportunity for public input and for examination of elements of the municipal budget. The fruits of these discussions are reflected in the May 1st budget. I thank my colleagues at the Select Board, the town staff, BCTV, all members of the public who participated. It was a valuable process. I believe this budget provides basic municipal services for the town of Brattleboro in FY26. This May 1 budget increase for the median home amounts to $286 per year, which is $24 a month. I look forward to continuing the work with the Select Board, town professional staff, and the public to make Brattleboro the best it can be. Thank you very much.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Evans-France.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I support this budget. I also see opportunities for us to make improvements in the FY27 budget. But let's talk about what's good in this budget. Over the past few weeks, the Select Board has reduced the tax increase for FY26 in what's proposed. We agreed to multi-year financial planning moving forward, restoring the emergency fund reserves. We've discussed reviewing financial statements on a monthly basis and have been doing that. We have a more realistic picture of what the overtime looks like for the fire department and took measures to curb those expenses. And we partially restored the town arts fund. We made the biggest proposed cuts to the biggest departments. These are important improvements. There are a number of concerns I do have about this budget that we can address when we're looking at the FY27 budget. A budget should be a realistic financial plan. I'm not confident about all of the numbers in this budget. I think that there is, this has been described as aspirational, and underestimating costs could set us up for another year of deficit spending. So it's important for us to continue monitoring the monthly financial reports. The FY26 budget adds 8 new police department positions and 3 new fire department positions. These positions do add recurring expenses to our annual budget, but they were in response to emergent situations. We've not yet discussed how we will know when those situations are no longer emergent, and we should discuss that in considering the FY27 budget. This FY26 budget further defers capital investments. For example, it delays payments to the ambulance fund, which looks to me like kicking the can down the road. We've looked at cutting a position here or there, but we need to more comprehensively and strategically look at how we can reduce staffing as painlessly as feasible. I've expressed concerns that this budget, while increasing staff on the streets, also cuts important administrative and financial positions at the core. We need to reassess this approach for the FY27 budget. Finally, in putting together the FY27 budget, we'll be needing to look at the at the commitments that we've made in terms of financial responsibility and planning for the future. You know, it's one thing to set a policy, and it's another to actually follow it. You know, in creating this budget for in the next budget, FY27, we should seriously consider the report that Representative Town Meeting Finance Committee put together for this FY26 budget, the one that just came out. It has some really important recommendations for us looking forward in the years to come. And I want to thank the current members of the committee, Millicent Cooley, Ernie Coughlin, David Levenbach, John Lightfoot, Nell Mayo, PJ Melton, and Trish Twining. In sum, I support this budget. I voted for it. It represents compromise, and we can look to the FY27 budgeting process and time between now and then to strengthen our town's financial situation with an eye out for future generations. Thank you.
Select Person Heller.
Thank you. I just have a few brief thoughts. We've said many times before that this budget is a compromise. It was one that was developed in a month, and it truly is a compromise. I know that because I won some fights on this budget and I lost some. I think every person up here on the select board was probably on the losing end of a vote about something in this budget they cared about, and that's the nature of compromise. That's how we come to a decision as a group. I think this is a budget that can move us forward. While it has flaws, I think when we're this close to the start of the new fiscal year, it sets us up to move forward, like Isaac was describing, into an FY27 budget process where this whole board has committed to do better than last year, which I think we're all serious about. Thought number 2 is that I've decided that as part of my commitment to this compromise and the vote I made to support this budget, I'm going to be abstaining from any amendments that RTM raises, just so if anyone sees an issue on the floor that they know I care about and my hand isn't going up one way or the other, that's why. I think I want to honor the compromise we made, and I fought my fights at the select board level, and now it's up to you guys. And the last thing I want to say is just that I really value this process. I value town meeting as a body. You're about to do something incredibly difficult, which is to have a multi-hour, 120-person public debate on a $25 million budget, and that's really important. Town meeting is not just a rubber stamp for the decisions made by the select board. The decisions you make here today are important, and we value them, and we value the discussion we're about to hear. So, thank you all.
Is there any further discussion? If you want to start with amendment now, that's fine. It's a way to start, I guess.
I would like to propose an amendment.
Name.
Oh, Marta Gossage, District 9. I would like to propose an amendment to increase the budget by $43,045, 430,545.
There's a motion to amend the budget upwards by $43,545. Is there a second? Seymour. The motion's been made and seconded to amend the budget upwards by $43,545. You can speak to that motion, Representative Gossage.
I would like to propose this amount of funding to restore the sustainability coordinator position to full-time. I believe that this is the best outcome for the town because of the money that this position brings into our town, and in addition to the money, the collaboration that this position takes on in order to make certain things work in our town.
Is there any discussion on the Gossage amendment? Representative Duncan.
I'm Tony Duncan, District 9. I'm the chair of the Energy Committee, and I'm concerned that in the discussions about the budget, there's a lot of things that either select board was not aware about or doesn't appreciate. My concern about cutting it the way it is now is going to remove community activities, and I think that's one of the most important areas that the sustainability coordinator has been effective. I just want to talk about the personal ways that I've been involved with him that have had, I think, massive positive impact on the community. He helped start the e-bike library, which has been going for 5 years as at no cost to the town, except I don't know if there's an insurance cost or not, but any costs that have been incurred have been paid by Brattleboro Time Trade or the Friends of the Library. We've had e-bikes for the last 5 years. We just added another e-bike for free. The tool library, Stephen Dotson was a major factor in getting the tool library established, which was took a lot of work. I've been very involved with Window Dressers, which is a organization that helps provide low-cost window inserts for community members. And I don't know if the Select Board knows about this, but that Stephen helped develop a collaboration with Hatchspace, who spent hundreds of hours helping to redesign the jigs that window dressers use so that Brattleboro can have its own jigs, and we're also going to help supply to other communities. So the value that he's doing is not just for Brattleboro in that one particular area, but there's this sort of cascading effect that has happened. Work with Efficiency Vermont. I did a lot of work with Efficiency Vermont, which was started by Stephen Dotson. There's so many different things we did with them that impacted hundreds of people in this town. He helped me get on the EV charging committee, the solar siting committee. I've been introduced to numerous energy, climate, and sustainability organizations. I've learned a tremendous amount, and I've helped to initiate other things because of his help. During COVID, he was of a major importance. He helped Edible Brattleboro developing the gardens. I started a garden at NECA. Stephen Dotson got a WSWMD to provide free soil. There's just so many different areas that his effect has been sort of either getting something started or catalyzing it so that the cascades that are productive and valuable to the community are far, far beyond what I think this extra cost would be adding to the budget.
Representative O'Connor.
Thank you, Kate O'Connor, District 9. I don't want to speak to the reason for the increase. I want to speak to the increase and why I urge us not to do it. We can't afford it. I know $43,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. And if you look at what the Select Board had to cut, cuts were made in public works, so there are roads projects that aren't going to get done. There are things in the library that had to get cut. We're not ordering as many books. A lot of tough decisions had to be made. One of the biggest beefs, I would say, that I have with the administration and the Select Board through no fault of their own is that I don't think, as a public, we have been given a full accounting of our finances. And that's why I think it's easy for us to think, oh, we can add another $43,000. That's not a lot. We've spent down our unassigned fund balance. We hardly have any money left in the revolving loan fund. We're deficit spending now, and we deficit spent in FY24. So we have to be really, really careful. And we're going to have to make some really hard and deep cuts in FY27. So I know it sounds like, oh, $43,000 isn't a lot, but it is a lot. And we have to start making these tough decisions now. I would like it if we would cut the budget, but I know that's not going to happen, and I'm probably going to end up supporting this one. But I would urge everybody, please don't add anything to this budget. We cannot afford it. It's not fair to the taxpayers. And also just remember, they've made a lot of tough decisions already, and we're adding something. Every one of us would probably want to add more money for our thing that we like. But please just think about this in the bigger global sense of what is happening to the finances in our community. Thank you.
Representative Snyder? Nope. Over here. Galbraith. All right, that was close.
Eli Coughlin Galbraith, District 8. I just want to say that it makes good financial sense to add this money back into the budget because it pays for a position that brings money into the town. According to the Finance Committee's report, which is back there on that table, this position has contributed $353,000 in value over a 5-year period through grants and cost energy savings. That's what, about $70,000 a year? And we're talking about cutting this to part-time and possibly losing the person who has brought that money into the town. Now, we obviously are in dire financial straits, which is why it doesn't make sense to cut the things that are bringing money in. Thank you.
Representative Sprite.
Frick Sprite, District 9. For full disclosure, I am a member of the Energy Committee. I agree with Kate that we shouldn't increase the budget. However, I think that eliminating this position is a huge strategic mistake, and I have not been able to get a cogent explanation of how we actually save money by eliminating it. And if the way to maintain it is to vote up for this $43,000, I support that. I don't think it's necessary. Not all the budgets have been cut. Some of them have been increased. One of them, the Parks and Rec Department budget, has gone up by in the neighborhood of the amount that they're trying to cut from this. And the only explanation I've been able to get about that is increase in utility costs. And I know he has been working very hard with the Parks and Rec to help reduce those costs. So the other thing I must point out is that it's not just annual savings that he brings us, it is ongoing savings in years to come. Tony spoke articulately about the benefits to the rest of our collective budgets, not the town tax-based one. And I think that's important too, and that all comes out of our paychecks as well. But if we just look narrowly at the town budget, there is money out there that he's bringing in, but more importantly, having a focus on finding ways to save money and save energy, whether they cost money or not much at all. Some of the things that he's done don't cost anything. So if for some reason this gets voted down, I am going to come back urging this body to vote to support the position anyway, perhaps under business or as another amendment. Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? Is that all right? All right, I'm trying not to get sick. Representative Dolan, District 8. I want to speak to the dimension of this position that has to do with generating revenue for the town departments. Can you hear me okay? Part of the function of this position is to find sources of money and grant getting. And, from working in the environmental field at the federal level, I know with this federal transition right now, it's going to take extra effort to find different revenue sources to care for those elements of our town infrastructure that have to do with weatherization, sustainable upkeep, adapting to flooding. Our Senator Peter Welch, just announced that there's $30 million dedicated to flooding adaptation in Vermont that we're going to be receiving. We need someone at the municipal level who will have it as their job to be that bridge between the state level and our town level to get some of that money to help update our infrastructure over the coming years. So that's federal grant getting. And then There are other organizations, like philanthropic organizations, that fund things like adaptation and weatherization and sustainability that are also adapting to the fiscal austerity at the federal level that require dedicated time and research into figuring out which ones those are and applying for those grants. So this job, I don't even personally know Stephen Dotson, but this particular job is dedicated to that, and I think it's vitally important for our town. There needs to be someone who is dedicated to this. So I would say let's vote in favor of retaining this, because this particular position, he gets, or they, whoever it is, gets money from the state, from philanthropic organizations, and from the feds when the feds make those monies available. Thank you.
Representative Belknap.
Timothy Belknap, District 9. I want to talk to you people at home who actually elected us. We're here to do a job, and that job is pay attention to what these guys have been doing for 4 intensive weeks, 8 sessions. The pain has been pushed around to everyone here, okay? This budget here, it's a bipartisan effort, and I think we need to approve of that. And yes, everyone's going to have their interests, okay? Their little interests here or there, they want to sneak back in. No, we need to move ahead, pass this budget, and move on, okay? So I say no additional money.
Representative Hasagawa.
Maya Hasagawa, District 8. In the Finance Committee report, there is a line that says, the town manager has also suggested that the role of sustainability coordinator could become full-time again by splitting costs with the utility fund. The RTM has no jurisdiction or anything over the utility fund. So I wondered if somebody could tell me how realistic that would be.
Town manager is interrogated.
Yes, thank you. So, yes, we're very seriously looking into that possibility. A draft utility budget is expected to be brought to the Select Board next Tuesday on June 3rd, and then they would likely act on that utility budget on June 17th. So we don't know for sure, but we do believe there's significant sustainability work that could be done in the utility side, and that could potentially fill that gap. Yep.
Representative Arroyo. This motion to call the question. Is there a second? Representative Frank. The motion to call the question is non-debatable, requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of ceasing debate, please. Yep. Yeah.
Christina Cheyanye, I represent District 8 in Brattleboro. I am still trying to figure out how this works tonight. So let's say we vote for that amendment and let's say it passes, then do we automatically go back to the motion and vote for that, or can there be another amendment, or basically then the night's over? Oh, we go to other business, I mean.
Oh, that's wishful thinking that the night's over. So right now we have a motion to cease debate on whether to amend the budget by raising it $43,545. That motion to cease debate is non-debatable, so we're going to go into that vote, and then whether this is adopted or defeated, whether the Gossage amendment is adopted or defeated, the budget is still open for discussion and further amendment.
Thank you.
Including possibly raising it higher or lower. All those in favor of ceasing debate, please rise and say aye. Aye. You can be seated. All those opposed to ceasing debate, please rise and say nay. I'm sorry, the chair's in doubt. We're going to count. All those who are in favor of ceasing debate, please rise and stay standing until counted. You can be seated. All those opposed to ceasing debate, please rise and stay standing until counted. I'm listened out now. You can be seated. Listen to the results of your vote. 70 are in favor of ceasing debate, 30 are opposed. That carries by 70%, so debate is ceased on the Gossage Amendment. The question before the town meeting now is a motion to amend the budget as presented to increase by $43,500. Mr. Franks.
Tom Franks, District 9. I call for a roll call vote.
He calls for a roll call vote. All those in favor, a roll call vote. Do we have a list? Yep. I think it requires 3 people. We're going to look at the charter.
Abby Manufkin, District 8. I just have a question in terms of the percentages, which is related but different. I think you said 122 people were here.
Well, the percentages of the people who are voting.
That's how it works. It's not as, so people who abstain, just it's like they're not here.
That's correct. And I think that the roll call vote is an attempt to push past that.
Mr. Moderator, I believe the charter says, or at least
6.
the Roberts Rules of Order, that it requires 6 people to support that request.
Are there 6 people who support a roll call vote? There are. We're now going to call the roll. If you are in favor of ceasing debate on the motion, wait a second, I want to make sure. Representative Frank, are you looking for a roll call vote on the $43,000 increase?
You already made your decision on the ceasing debate, and you had moved on to the next motion, which the appropriate time to do that is either before you call for a vote or after. Your preference, sir.
That's correct. We want to make sure. I'm going to call each member, and we're voting by roll call on whether to increase the budget by $43,545. Is there more point of order? Representative Duncan.
That was not the number that was provided. It was, I think it was $43,045.
I wrote 43,545. That's what I heard. $43045. Okay. I understand. You have a question, point of order?
This is what happens when you leave counting to amateurs. So there may have been discrepancy in the ceasing debate count. Can we do that vote again? I'm really sorry.
We can.
Okay.
One second. The next, hold up. The next item of business, being the vote, has not yet commenced. If there's a question about the accuracy of the vote total, that's a core issue that goes to the propriety of the decision the town meeting is making. And so we're going to recount the votes on those seeking to cease debate on the Gossage Amendment to increase the budget by $43,045, not $545. All those in favor of ceasing debate, please rise and remain standing until counted. Can the counters please approach? Please be seated. All those opposed to ceasing debate on the Gossage Amendment to increase the budget by $43,045, please rise and remain standing until counted. Listen to the updated results of your vote. You can be seated. The ayes to cease debate are 73. The nays are 44. The motion to cease debate is defeated, And discussion continues on the Gossage amendment to increase the budget by $43,045. Is there further discussion? Representative Seymour. Is there a point of order? So sorry.
Jenna Seymour, District 8. I stand in favor of the Gossage Amendment. Unlike some of the other positions that have been cut out of this budget, the Assistant Town Manager position was voluntarily relinquished. The IT Coordinator was an unfilled position, and the Finance Director position was an unfilled position. The Sustainability Coordinator is a filled position, and I don't think it's reasonable to assume that this person will stay in that position, which is a financial net benefit to this town, with their salary cut to part-time with no benefits. Additionally, I do not think that it is fair to that person who is in that position currently to have to wait around for a possible refunding of that position later in the year. I think they deserve an answer now, and we should give it in the affirmative that they are a part of our community that we value, and that we are going to honor our commitment to that person. And if money can be found in the utility budget later on to fund other things, well, that's fantastic, but I want an answer now. Thank you.
Is there a point of order? No, we didn't vote to cease debate. That's why there was a revote, because there was a discrepancy in the count. And so the second count showed 73 in favor of ceasing debate and 44 against. It's a 2/3 margin required to cease debate. That's the standard. We're here. Yeah.
Ken Fay, District 8. I would like to make this short and sweet. The phrase penny wise and pound foolish comes to mind here. And I think the town is being that way. I support adding back the amount for the position. Thank you.
Representative Agavi.
Although we're here to talk about money, the budget, to me it's kind of discouraging that it's even considered in a monetary light. At a time when we're struggling to save this planet, to save our clean water, to keep our agricultural lands arable, and to keep hundreds of tons, whatever we could save, out of the atmosphere, I think we can't afford not to restore these funds. And it's hard for me to imagine how a younger person who would like to have a future could not support this.
Representative Atkinson.
Margaret Atkinson, District 8. It's my understanding that this body votes on the total of the budget and does not have control over line items. This discussion has focused on returning money for a line item, so I would like to query the select board that they would commit to spend the money in that way, because really they could spend it on anything else. It's just an increase to the budget. So we're having a discussion assuming, the amendment amended the amount. It didn't speak to the purpose. So we're assuming that the purpose is understood by the select board, and so I would just like some clarity there. Thank you.
Well, select board can choose to spend the money on that or not spend the money at all. Somebody from select board is interrogated. Select board member McLaughlin.
The select board, as you know, has made this decision, and the RTM can restore the amount of money, but again, as Margaret points out, it is up to the select board to choose to increase this budget. And as we know, as Town Manager Potter has discussed, there is the possibility that this position could be funded in part by the utilities budget. So if you were to vote in this position and then utility budget also retains partial use of the sustainability coordinator, that money could be used for other purposes. In general, the select board can take your advice as guidance and vote in the way that we feel is the most responsible use for the town.
Nell Mayo, District 8. I believe that the discussion surrounding this amendment sparks from a select board meeting when they were discussing cutting the town manager, and Chair McLaughlin said, well, if they vote to increase the budget by $140,000, that would be clear. So I think this is an attempt to be clear in regards to another position. What I have also understood from talking to people is that the main concern with the potential of covering some of the position's costs from the utility fund is that it would limit the outreach portion and the community engagement portion of this position. That said, to me, what I also recall from attending select board meetings is Mr. Potter stating that for this position to be able to be partially funded by the utility budget, it would have to be worth it to the ratepayers, which to me is a similar discussion that we have been having here, is does this position bring in enough grant money to make it worth expending either taxpayer or ratepayer money? So to me, if that is something that's worth discussing with the utility fund, it's worth discussing with the larger body, because essentially all you would be doing is passing off this $43,035 to a smaller portion of the town taxpayers who are the utility ratepayers. I think that it would be worth, if there's any clarifying that can be done, that if that amount of the position was supported by the utility fund, instead of being reintroduced into the general fund, would that eliminate the community outreach portion? Because the position would have to be more focused on justifying itself to the utility ratepayers through stormwater management grants and the like. Is that clarification that we can query the town on?
Representative Atkinson was correct.
Okay.
That the town meeting can increase or decrease the total amount of the budget, but we don't have line item decision-making here at town meeting. The entirety of the discussion has focused on this particular position, and will allow that inquiry to go and be presented to select board. But let's remember, we're voting on the bottom line number and not on the position. A member of the select board is interrogated. Select board member Heller.
I'd just like to say that it has been the long-standing practice of select boards, at least in my memory, to honor advisory requests made by town meeting in this way, and that would certainly be my intent for this amendment or any other amendment made to this article.
1 second, please. The specific inquiry had to do with the outreach portion of the sustainability coordinator position. So if somebody from select board can speak to that, that's fine. Town Manager Potter?
So yes, my understanding of the select board's plan here would be that we would be shifting some of the responsibilities away from the community resiliency and support of the Energy Committee and the Ag Advisory Committee, and instead the time that this position would spend is on trying to generate funds on the utility side. So you're right, there would be, the way I interpret it is there would be a shift in duties.
What's that? Representative Gossage? Are you finished, Representative Mayo?
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. I believe that the concern I have heard in someone with limited exposure to that position is that there is concern over losing the community outreach.
Point of information, the reason that I did bring this amendment is because in the District 9 caucus, Chairperson McLaughlin's answer was different to the question, and at that time, and District 9 members can...
I don't think this is a point of
information. Said that they would honor it.
Wait, this is not a point of information. If you want to be recognized...
Well, that's the reason behind my bringing it, is because there was a statement
Representative Gossage,
that they would honor it.
You're out of order at this point. Dick DeGray. See, not using Mr. and Ms. leaves me at a loss at how to speak to just people who live here, who are not representatives. If somebody's got an idea, please tell me. Dick?
Dick DeGray, taxpayer.
Yep.
I've heard a couple of things. The position is not being eliminated. It's going to part-time. And I heard someone say, if we make it part-time, that person's going to leave us. Let me give you some statistics about our town that you probably don't think about. We've had 4 town managers since 2000, 7 if you count the interim town managers. We've had 2 assistant town managers. We've had 4 police chiefs. We've had 4 fire chiefs. We've had 3 planning directors. We have had 2 maintenance superintendents and 2 library directors. The only person that hasn't changed in our town is Carol Lalott. So the point I'm trying to make to RTM members is that if this person chooses to leave, we're going to do what we did for all of those people I just talked about. We're going to have a cake. We're going to wish them well when they go to their new job. So if the sustainability coordinator is not put back to its full time, which I don't support, someone will take that position and we will move along, as we have with every other position that has been vacated over the last 25 years, and we have gone very smoothly. I represent a lot of people that I don't feel are represented here this evening. Don't plan around one person, because we can say, you know what, we like this guy, he's great, and then all of a sudden he's gone. So we should never, I'm a golfer, an avid golfer, and a good architect never plans a golf hole around a tree. So, because the tree falls down and then the character of the hole changes. So I'm asking you not to put this position as, just like I'm an advocate of the assistant town manager, but I don't want anybody to put money in for that position either. The taxpayers are screaming and they want you to listen. This isn't about favoritism. This is about the taxpayers and a position that's not being eliminated, it's cut to part-time. Thank you for letting me speak, Mr. Moderator.
All right, please, let's, no clapping any more than booing. Thank you very much. Representative Manders.
Thank you, Dick. I call a question.
Is there a second? Representative Blodgett seconds. It's been moved and seconded to cease debate. Once again, that's a non-debatable motion. 2/3 vote is needed to carry. All those in favor of ceasing debate, please rise and say aye. Aye. You can be seated. All those opposed to ceasing debate, please rise and say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you've ceased debate on the Gossage amendment. So the recurring question on the Gossage amendment is whether you will amend the budget by increasing it by $43,045. I'm going to understand that the request for a roll call vote remains and that there's still 6 people. Yep. So I'm going to call the roll, and town clerk will record your votes. Spoonagavi. Tessa Anders. Eric Annis. Alyssa Arroyo. Margaret Atkinson. Michael Averill. Linda Bailey. Brian Bannon. Hugh Barber. Kim Barstow. Tim Belknap. Susan Belleville. Randall Blodgett. Michael Bosworth. Sally Brunton. Molly Burke's not here. G. Burrows. Ronnie Byrne. Christopher Kane. Ellen Cappy. Pierre Cappy. George Carville. Pamela Case. Peter Case. Dina Chadwick. Chris Chapman. Barbara Charkey. Diane Cook. Richard Cook. Millicent Cooley. Mary Copans. Stuart Copans. Ann Coughlin. Ernest Coughlin. Eli Coughlin Galbraith. Gretchen Cowan. Arthur Davis. Andrew Davis. Rachel Disler. Jessica Dolan. Jessica DeLesney. John DeLesney. Catherine Dowd. Anthony Duncan. Milton Eaton. Amanda Ellis Thurber. Peter Elwell. Isaac Evan France.
Abstain.
Bob Everingham. Peter Fallion. Amy Farnham. Ken Fay. Robert Ferranti. Heidi Fisher. Alex Fisher. Thomas Franks. Michael Gant. Ruben Garza. Bonnie Gervin. Denise Glover. Virginia Goodman. Ian Goodnow, he's not here. Ruth Gormul. Marta Gossage. Tom Grasso. Megan Gray. Grace Guerra. Wendy Harrison, not here. Christine Hart. Maya Hasagawa. Christine Hazard. Steve Hyam. Deborah Heller. Oscar Heller. George Herzog. James Hildebrand. Michael Hutchison. Jennifer Jacobs. Tracy John. Jesse Cayenne. John Kennedy. Beth Kendall. Cleo King. Will Cram. David Levenbach. John Lightfoot. Sheila Linton. H.B. Lazito. Joel Lum. Christine Lind. Was that a nay? Christine Lind. I'm sorry, did I say that now third time? William Manders. Eleanor Mayo. Mary McLaughlin. Elizabeth McLaughlin. Emily Megas Russell. Paula Melton. Art Meese. David Miner. Craig Miskovich. Abigail Manukin. Ann Moore Odell. Georgia Morgan. Robin Morgan. Richard Morton. Tom Mosikowski. Steve Nelson. Tara O'Brien. Kevin O'Brien. Kate O'Connor. Bob Oser. Tom Oxholm. Rolf Parker Houghton. Hedy Tamazi. Did Hedy Tamazi vote? She said nay. Jackie Rice. Gemma Seymour. Christina Sheonye. Andrew Shepard. Sonia Silbert. Aaron Smith. Jennifer Smith. Isadora Snyder. Hannah Cirilla. Stephanie Spring. Frick Sprite. Jill Stalltyler. Trevor Stannis. Eric Stewart. Gary Stroud. Apple Sullivan. Kipton Tewksbury. Aslan Thompson. Lila Thorne. Ross Thurber. Robert Tortolani. David Tourneau. Joy Tourneau. Josh Traeger. Sarah Turbo. Catherine Turnus. Patricia Twining. Brian Tyler. Kathy Erfer. Eleanor Weiss. Aaron Wessel. Tim Wessel. Lisa Whitney. Elizabeth Whitaker. Lindsay Warden. Wait for the results of your vote. Did I call everybody's name? You weren't called? You said aye? All right. All right. Is there anybody else didn't hear their names called? All right. The roll call on Burrows, which reads here G. Burrows, but now says Howard, was aye. As good a time as any to get up and stretch. Don't leave. Listen to the results of your vote. Those in favor of the Gossage Amendment are 53. Those opposed are 71. The motion to amend the budget to increase by $43,045 is defeated. Is there any further discussion on the continuing question being the $24,971,305 budget? Representative Blodgett.
I'd like to call a question and vote on the budget, please.
There's a motion to call the question on the budget. Is there a second? A second over here, Representative Delesny. It's non-debatable, requires 2/3 vote. All those in favor of ceasing debate on Article 1, please rise and remain standing for a minute. You can be seated. All those opposed, please rise and say nay. The nays appear to have it. The nays do have it. We're going to continue debate on the budget. Over here. Yep.
2-8, District 8, new at District 8. I really appreciated Representative Evan Franz's question at the beginning about how are we going to know if these emergent issues are no longer emergent. I think my big concern with this budget is that it's going to be this high forever, not given, obviously, rising costs, et cetera, health insurance. We could organize around health insurance, that's separate. I'm curious if there are metrics for how we'll know when these emergencies are no longer emergencies. So would love to interrogate the select board about that question. Thank you.
Member of select board is interrogated, or the police chief, if they choose to be. Is the police chief here? Police chief's interrogated.
Can you repeat the question?
The representative wants to know if there are any metrics for trying to figure out when what's considered an emergency situation, I think which led to the increase in the police force, may wind down. That's the question I heard.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't know if that's the only thing that we've designated as emergent or emergency, but how will we know when those funds that were designated as emergency are no longer needed?
Okay. I can answer for the police part. I don't believe that public safety was the total of what was decided as emergencies. From the police standpoint, I would say through our data, the data that we collect as far as the number of calls, the severity of the calls that we respond to, and the areas that we have to cover for these calls, that will be how we can judge and present to the community how we're doing as far as public safety standpoint stands.
Thank you. Anybody from select board? Select board member McLaughlin.
What we experienced on the select board in this past year was a preponderance of the public demanding additional safety measures. And that was matched by the police statistics of first responder calls. And it also corresponded to the police data that we have on targeted locations where first responders and emergency calls are made. So what we've put in place are two key elements. One is the BRAT team, which is a very progressive and responsive force of individuals without guns who are assisted by HCRS designated officials and social workers. So this very progressive team is out in our community, and everyone has said it's made a tremendous difference. So that's the first part. And this is all part of the community, the downtown safety plan. The second part, which is even more interesting innovative and effective is One Brattleboro. And One Brattleboro is the culmination of a year's work of coordinating social work agencies and the police and fire and first responders. And so One Brattleboro and an element called the situation table is really the long-term solution for addressing people with complex needs who are an issue with our public safety, getting those needs met, and really ceasing the preponderance of first responder calls for these people with complex needs. And it's working. And I know Justin Johnson from our police department has brought numerous people to treatment. They've solved problems in a very benign way, working with social workers, addressing the needs of people who live in housing where there's drug dealers and other disturbances. I mean, this two-pronged approach is working, and through those metrics of what the BRAT team is doing, what One Brattleboro is doing, and what the situation table is doing, which are all very collaborative with the nonprofits in the community, that's how we'll know that it's working, and that our community is safe, and that there could be a reduction in these personnel.
Representative Franks.
Thank you, Tom Franks, District 9. I'm here to support the budget as presented. This was the result of, I know, of 40 hours of meetings. I don't know how many meetings happened behind the doors. I don't know how much staff time was put into it. I don't know how much select board time was put into it. And I don't know how much time the citizens who showed up to speak to these issues, to ask questions, to have their questions answered, put into this. I think this is a budget, as people have said, a compromise. I don't think anyone's thrilled with it. I think we need to pass it as is and move on. I think amendments to this point would be like a flashback to the March 22 meeting. You know, the representatives of this body had some direct information from the voters of this town in a ballot. You could argue about the ballot, but numbers are pretty simple if you just look at. I'm very comfortable saying and able to support that 58% of the voters said that the human services allocation should be less than 2%. This body proceeded to award 2% to the human services and then didn't pass a budget. It's one job. The job we're here to do today is pass a budget so we can move on, so we can work for the future, so we can address the issues that many of our select board members have raised. What are we going to do in 2027 for our 2027 budget to get this under control? So I urge you to quickly and promptly pass this budget as is and do not amend it, because amending it will just, be completely disrespectful to the voters of this town and all the people who put so much effort into getting us to this budget. Thank you for your consideration.
Representative Stahl-Tyler.
Jill Stahl-Tyler, District 7, if we don't pass a budget tonight, what happens? What's the financial repercussions?
Member of Select Board is interrogated.
Thank you. An outline of that is in the budget report on page something, but also John Potter could speak to it if he would like to be interrogated.
Town Manager Potter is interrogated if he chooses to be.
If the town meeting fails to act on budget tonight, then we'd be in the same position as we were after the March 22nd representative town meeting. Takes at least 30 days to warn another meeting of the representative town meeting, so the select board might choose to warn an additional special representative town meeting as soon as possible. Could be tomorrow, or actually day after tomorrow, because they'd have to warn the meeting. So that would be the end of June at the earliest that this body could get together again to vote on a budget. The select board would then have to have a conversation about how would they change the budget, what do you all want? That might take 2 or 3 weeks to do that again. It might take longer. In any event, if we go past July 1st, we'll be operating off of our cash balances. We would likely, if a budget was not imminent, we would likely have to take a short-term loan in anticipation of collecting property taxes. We definitely would by, say, the end of July, when we need to pay the school for their portion of the taxes. We probably would hold tax bills until we had a budget. So just to reduce the kind of complexity around multiple tax bills going out and all that. So that I think is a nutshell of what would happen. We really need a budget from this body before we can do much, and it could incur the town some short-term interest on a loan.
Representative Ozer.
Good evening. Robert Ozer, District 9. I would like to make an amendment, and I move that the Select Board be authorized to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum not to exceed 4% over the FY25 budget, or $23,986,383. And if seconded, I would like to speak to that.
Is there a second? Second by it's been moved and seconded that Article 1 be amended to provide that the select would be authorized to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum not to exceed $23,986,383 as a parenthetical, being 4% above this year's budget. Mr. Ozer is recognized to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So the current budget is an 8% increase, or higher, actually, and that's not sustainable. The cost of living allowance currently is pegged at 3.8%. A 4% increase is reasonable. The increase included in the budget report projections is at least twice that. How did we get here? A major problem, in my opinion, is the use of one-time money or funds allocated for different purposes. Revolving loan fund, the utility budget, funds that this body has no control over. And that money was then used to fund ongoing operating expenses that then became part of the budget. That whole practice is not sustainable. We have heard, and I commend the comments about doing better, about looking at 2027 and not doing the same things. But I think there really needs to be some brakes on the system right now so that we realize that this is an important thing to focus on. I'll give you an admission. The 4% I put in there because the 4% is over the COLA. but it could be more than 4%. But the motion is 4%. We need to put a break so that we focus on where we're spending the money. Thank you.
Is there further discussion on the Oster amendment? Are you ready for the question? Representative Sheonye.
Christina Sheonye, I represent residents in District 8. So the amendment is to lower the budget, is that correct?
To 4% above last year's.
To 4% above last year's, okay. So I would like to ask John Potter, town manager, if at the current budget, proposed budget, with so much support staff missing, do you feel like you can still do the job that you are hired to do when there's so many empty jobs around you? And I'm going to use an analogy like the roof. If you remove one shingle, you actually are not going to get a leak. If you lose two shingles right next to each other, you're going to have a leak. And I cannot support this budget or this amendment unless, I can't support it. Because when you guys cut positions, you cut structurally important positions that were really close to each other. So a lot of shingles have been removed. Well, the assistant town manager, the finance director, IT position, sustainability coordinator from the planning department. These are all positions that are the work that we don't really see and that we will notice when it's gone. And then there's all these other departments where instead of taking away shingles, like for example, the police department has 40 shingles. And instead of taking away shingles from the 27, you added 8 more shingles. But if you took 2 officers out of shingles of 40 officers, you actually wouldn't have any leaks. But right now, I'm very concerned about our town and the structural integrity of the basic services. For example, who is going to make sure that the stores and restaurants downtown are shoveling snow? Who's going to take over that job if we have no assistant manager? That's just one example, but I just think about all the things that the assistant manager is on top of that prevents our town of Brattleboro from being sued. So I would really like to hear, I'd like to be convinced that it's okay to cut the positions that you cut, because as Select Board Member Case said, you take a position away, that job, all of those things are still there. Somebody has to do it. So who's going to fill all of those really important support positions? Thank you.
I think that a member of the Select Board is interrogated to speak to the manner in which this budget is designed to meet all the needs of the town.
Potter.
Okay, town manager's interrogated.
So this amendment would reduce what's before you by $985,000 more dollars. That would be really tough. You saw how difficult it was for the select board to find the reductions that they did. Reducing it this even further is going to be, again, more significant positions like the ones that the member mentioned that are going to take increasingly bigger and bigger bites out of what the town is able to deliver to you all. I'm sure that the select board would look at doing that kind of across the board where we could. There are some things that are essential life safety needs that probably would be a priority to preserve. That's why we went to things like shifting the burdens of the administrative work onto me, the department heads, other positions, and also contracting out for services that may or may not be a savings for us in the end. But that's kind of, if you do things like, say, cut it at 4%, that forces us into finding those savings in wherever we can, and reducing our capital expenditures, doing whatever we can to meet that sort of a goal. But it will have significant impacts on the services that the town's able to deliver to you.
Continuing discussion is on the OSER amendment.
Hi there, Lindsay Warden, District 7. I think it's really important to recognize that we didn't get into this situation overnight, and we're not gonna solve it overnight. I think the select board, as others have said, have sat through several hours of meetings over the last month to get to the budget to the point where it has gotten to. And I think there's been additional things uncovered through the process that we're really glad have been discovered, but there's more work to be done. And so I think it's very prudent for us just to pass this budget and move on, knowing that there's a lot more work yet to be done. Because again, you can't just solve this in one night. I'm very empathetic for everybody that experiences any economic hardship for any reason, and I recognize nobody likes paying more taxes. But again, we're at a point where we need to make a decision. It's 8:10 here at night. We voted down one amendment. I think we need to just recognize the hard work that's been done and acknowledge there's hard work yet to be done, and just encourage everybody to vote down this amendment, pass the budget that's been brought to us to pass, and let's just move forward knowing there's a lot more work to be done yet.
Question is on the OSER amendment. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. The question before town meeting is whether to amend Article 1 to provide for a total budget figure of $23,986,383, being a 4% increase from the FY25 budget. Are you ready for that question? All those in favor of the OSER amendment to cut the budget, please rise and say aye. All right. Please be seated. All those opposed to the OSER amendment, please rise and say nay. Nay. The nays appear to have it. The nays do have it, and you've defeated the OSER amendment. The continuing question is on the budget article number 1 in the amount of $24,971,305. Representative Blodgett.
Hello, Randy Blodgett, District 7. I believe I went to all except one meeting, and that meeting I watched on TV since the other budget was not passed. People in this town have to do their homework. There's a lot of information in this book, the finance report. There's an overwhelming amount of information. When you go to the meeting, 4, 5, over 5 hours, department heads were all there. Select board was there. Some meetings there were more people than others. The last meeting 2 weeks ago or last week, you could tell everybody was sick of it. There was about 8 people there. But what I learned going into it is everybody wants zero. Everybody wants minus. But if you want any services at all in this town, no matter what services you like or don't like, you need to show up and express that opinion. I don't think, based on the amount of discussion, the amount of questions, the amount of things that we have going on at these meetings in March, and again here tonight, we need people to come out. They need to vote. They need to talk. They need to send emails, call, have meetings with coffee, do something. We need to do a better job of communicating. We need to do a better job amongst ourselves. We can't be just like and dislike, like Oscar said, like Isaac said, like every select board member has said, there's compromise. We're never going to have 100% vote, most likely. So I'd like to call the question and vote on the budget.
Well, you can't call the question after you make a comment. Good try. Representative Byrne.
I would like to call the question.
There's a motion and a second to call the question. It's non-debatable. Two-thirds vote is needed to cease debate. All those in favor of ceasing debate, please rise and say aye. Sorry. You can be seated. All those opposed to ceasing debate, please rise and say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you voted to cease debate on Article 1. Question to be voted on is that the Select Board be authorized to raise, appropriate, and expend the sum not to exceed $24,971,305 in order to defray to that extent all general fund expenses for the period July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026, including all highway and Windham County taxes, and that the Select Board be authorized to expend in addition any sum authorized for special purpose under any article previously authorized at the March 22, 2025 annual representative town meeting. This motion includes $19,620,094 to be collected in property taxes, and the balance to be comprised of all other sources of revenue collected by the town. This motion also provides that the town and school district taxes assessed on the grand list as of April 1, 2025 shall be due and payable in 4 equal installments, payable to the town treasurer until overdue, then to the collector of taxes, that such payment of the installments shall be received by the town treasurer's office on or before 5 p.m. on August 15 and November 17, 2025, February 17 and May 15, 2026, and that interest at a rate of 1% per month be charged from the due date of payment on any overdue payment of the town tax installment or portion thereof, and that a penalty of 8% be charged on any overdue payment that remains due and owing on May 16, 2026. All those in favor of Article 1, please rise and say aye. Aye. You can be seated. I guess that there's a point of order over there. Ms. Belleville, Representative Belleville. Representative Belleville, I saw your hand first.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to request a roll call vote. Susan Belleville, District 8.
Yep. How many are in favor of roll call vote? More than 6? All right, I'm going to call the roll again. If you don't hear your name when I go past the first letter of your last name, please say so. Spoona Gavi, Tessa Anders, Eric Annis, Alyssa Arroyo, Margaret Atkinson, Michael Averill, Linda Bailey, Brian Bannon, Hugh Barber, Kim Barstow, Tim Belknap, Susan Belleville, Randall Blodgett, Michael Bosworth, Sally Brunton, Howard Burrows, Ronnie Byrne, Christopher Kane, Ellen Cappy, Pierre Cappy, George Carville, Pamela Case, Peter Case, Dina Chadwick, Christopher Chapman, Barbara Charkey, Diane Cook, Richard Cook, Millicent Cooley, Mary Copans, Stuart Copans, Ann Coughlin, Ernest Coughlin, Eli Coughlin Galbraith, Gretchen Cowan, Arthur Davis, Andrew Davis, Rachel Dissler, Jessica Dolan, Jessica DeLesney, John DeLesney, Catherine Dowd, Anthony Duncan, Milton Eaton, Amanda Ellis Thurber, Peter Elwell, Isaac Evans Franz, Bob Everingham, Peter Fallion, Amy Farnham, Ken Fay, Robert Ferranti. Heidi Fisher. Alex Fisher. Tom Franks. Michael Gant. Ruben Garza. Bonnie Gervin. Denise Glover. Virginia Goodman. Ruth Gorham Houle. Marta Gossage. Tom Grasso. Megan Gray. Grace Guerra. Christine Hart. Maya Hasagawa. Christine Hazard. Steve Hyam. Deborah Heller. Oscar Heller. George Herzog. James Hildebrand. Michael Hutchison. Jennifer Jacobs. Tracy John. Jesse Kyan. John Kennedy. Beth Kendall. Will Cram. John Lightfoot. Sheila Linton. H.B. Lozito. Joe Lum. Christine Lind. William Manders. Eleanor Mayo. Mary McLaughlin. Elizabeth McLaughlin. Emily Megas Russell. Paula Melton. Art Meese. David Miner. Craig Miskovich. Abigail Manukin. Ann Moore Odell. Georgia Morgan. Robin Morgan. Richard Morton. Tom Mosikowski. Stephen Nelson. Tara O'Brien. Kevin O'Brien. Kate O'Connor. Bob Oser. Tom Oxholm. Ralph Parker Houghton. Hetty Pamazzi. Jackie Rice. Gemma Seymour. Christina Sheonye. Andrew Shepard. Sonia Silbert. Aaron Smith. Jennifer Smith. Isadora Snyder. Hannah Cirilla. Stephanie Spring. Frick Sprite. Jill Stahl-Tyler. Trevor Stannis. Eric Stewart. Gary Stroud. Apple Sullivan. Kipton Tewksbury. Aislinn Thompson. Lila Thorne. Ross Thurber. Robert Tortolani. David Tourneau. Joy Tourneau. Joshua Traeger. Sarah Turbo. Catherine Turnus. Patricia Twining. Brian Tyler. Kathy Erfer. Eleanor Weiss. Aaron Wessel. Timothy Wessel. Lisa Whitney. Elizabeth Whitaker. Lindsay Warden. I skipped some names for people who I was clear weren't here. Is there anybody whose name I skipped who's here? Wait for the results of your vote, please. Give me the no's, but not the abstains. No, the abstains, just as I didn't vote. Listen to the results of your vote. 110 in favor, 4 opposed, and you've adopted Article 1. Article 2 is to transact any other business that may lawfully come before the meeting. Abstentions weren't counted. That's no vote. You could vote no, or you could vote yes, or you could be not here. Representative Bosworth.
Michael Bosworth, District 7. I would like to make the following motion and then would like to speak to it in hopes that my fellow RTM members agree to send a clear message on this matter. So the motion is, I move that the Select Board do all it can to find other non-general fund money to bring the Sustainability Coordinator position back to full-time.
There's a motion and a second to look for other sources of money to pay the Sustainability Coordinator at full time. Mr. Bosworth, Representative Bosworth, you can speak to the motion.
Yeah. I was personally saddened, though not totally surprised, to see a cut in the Sustainability Coordinator's position to part-time, non-benefited status. As a past Energy Committee Chair for 3 years, I advocated hard for the creation of the position and was cheered when it was approved, and have since been impressed with the excellent job Stephen Dotson has done in fulfilling the duties. In my mind, a sustainability coordinator ideally serves the town, the municipality with a capital T, while also finding opportunities to serve the overall town with a small t. I'll give a couple of examples. Directly serving the town, capital T, includes such examples as finding grants to cut down energy use in various town buildings. Serving the overall town, small t, includes examples such as supporting the new food garden across from the Academy School, a great educational project. In this year of excruciating choices and reflection, however, I can understand the need and the desire to have the sustainability coordinator focus just on the municipal needs, the town with a capital T, and finding ways to bring in revenues through grants or rebates or other means that can help cover or more than cover the cost of the position. I do not think, however, that a part-time, non-benefited position can bring the maximum payback or benefit for the town, nor that we can retain or attract the quality of person we need to effectively fill this job. I believe it needs to be a full-time position.
Is there any discussion on the Bosworth non-binding motion? Representative Andy Davis.
Andrew Davis, District 9. I would just support this motion put forward by Representative Bosworth. The issue of ongoing emergencies was raised earlier in this meeting. Those things include climate, with flooding, weather, rising health care costs, public safety, resource management, AKA solid waste. I don't see the prospect of money coming at any great rate from the state or the federal government to handle these ongoing things, and we need our own homegrown creativity and activism to address these things, and I can think of nothing better than finding a way to keep this position fully funded using our resources creatively. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the Bosworth non-binding motion? Yeah.
Rolf Parker, District 8. Rolf Parker Houghton, District 8. I would just say sincerely as a taxpayer that I fully support this motion, even though it is non-binding. I only wish it could be binding. The savings were printed clearly, easy to read, easy to understand, and that does all. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Are you ready for that question? All those in favor, please rise and say aye. You be seated. All those opposed, please rise and say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And you've adopted the Bosworth motion that the Select Board do all it can to find other non-general fund money to bring the Sustainability Coordinator position back to full-time. Is there any further business to come before the body and other business? Representative Fisher.
Heidi Fisher, District 7. I move that the Select Board require a full and complete accounting of the actual EMS expenses and revenue from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, to provide town taxpayers a clear understanding of the financial impact of this new program. And if seconded, I request to speak to the motion.
Is there a second? Seconded by Representative Fallion. Representative Fisher is recognized to speak to the motion.
In spite of the vote that we just had on the fiscal year 26 budget, our town is still in a crisis, in a budget crisis. This situation cannot be improved without accurate information, especially on our most costly services. We need actual expense and revenue numbers in order to build our fiscal year 27 and future budgets. Thank you.
Is there any discussion about the Fisher motion? If I could have, do I have the paper copy? Did you give me a paper copy before? Okay. Can I borrow another? I'm sorry. Thank you. Yep. We got it. Here we go. All right, so the motion is that the Select Board require a full and complete accounting of the actual EMS expenses and revenue from July 1, 24 to June 30, 2025 to provide town taxpayers a clear understanding of the financial impact of this new program. Is there any discussion? Representative Stahl-Tyler.
To speak in support of this motion, because when we're looking at other sources of revenue, we need to be able to say exactly where we're spending money. And when we're looking at things like the opioid settlement that was out there, we couldn't say as a town, this is how much it's costing us. I feel like we've made great changes in that, and John and the whole Select Board are working on that hard. This doesn't seem like an unreasonable request. The more we can know about where we're spending our money, the more we can look for other sources of revenue. The budget is not going to suddenly become easier next year. Our way forward out of this is vision for more revenue coming in, not in continually cutting.
Is there any further discussion on the Fisher motion? Seeing none. The motion is that the Select Board require a full and complete accounting of the actual EMS expenses and revenue from July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025 to provide town taxpayers clear understanding of the financial impact of this new program. All those in favor, please rise and say aye. Aye. You can be seated. All those opposed, please rise and say nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And you've adopted the Fisher non-binding resolution. Is there a motion to adjourn? Ms. Belknap moves to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. A lot of seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Good work. Hmm?